Negotiate. You can't be like in a lobby or something.
So who are you?
I'm Bob Rebholz.
And what do you do here?
I'm a program manager in the Windows Server community team.
Is there anybody at Microsoft who isn't a program manager?
No, there are.
You're not a people have been asking me on Channel 9, you always get the program manager.
They just want to talk a lot more.
They want to talk a lot more. The developers are the quiet ones in the corner, yeah.
Well, and the product managers, I don't know, don't you ever get product managers?
Yeah, once in a while. We try not to let product managers.
At one time I thought there was nothing at Microsoft but product managers, but now that I am a program manager, I now believe that the opposite may in fact be true.
Yeah. I still don't understand the difference, actually.
They hide behind.
So anyway,
all
right, what are we here for?
So we're here to talk about the working network. The project code name Nexus, the public name now is theworkingnetwork.com. In fact, the website will be called www.theworkingnetwork.com.
Okay.
And there are a couple of things we want to talk about. We want to highlight what theworkingnetwork.com is about. We want to give you an idea of some of the cool tools that will be available on the working network that will help folks get up and running and get some value out of these kinds of things quickly and efficiently.
Now that's what I want. I want a plasma screen.
I'm
trying to convince the wife to buy me a plasma screen, but that's not going over too well yet.
There are a lot of them in the hallways. If you just walk around at night, you can get a lot of them.
Go over to Raid Bill's office and take his off the wall.
If you show her examples like this, though, it's not going to work. What you need is that Housewives show displaying on
Desperate Housewives show?
Desperate Housewives show, and that, I think, is a much better way to sell the plasma.
Anyways, back to the working network.
Workingnetwork.com.
I'm all about a size.
Rolling?
We're rolling, man.
How's it going?
He does this all the time.
So to speak, right?
So who else is here, by the way?
Stefan, introduce yourself.
My name is Stefan Weitz. Bob and I are on the same team. We are the ones who are working on this codename Nexus product.
Okay. And
my name is Matt Richardson. I'm a researcher, and I've been working on the community bar, which we're going to show. It's a little sidebar that sits in IE that lets you do all sorts of community things.
And who are you?
I'm Robert Ragno. I work with Matt on his team.
All right, you're just hanging out here, causing trouble.
So we were sitting around trying to figure out what new and dramatic and interesting thing we could do in order to improve customer satisfaction, IT pro satisfaction, for Microsoft IT pros. And we were using all these nifty tools. You know, we were out blogging and we were reading blogs and we were taking advantage of the social bookmarking stuff, and we thought that was
great. You can say Delicious on there, you know.
Yeah, we were using Delicious and some others too. We were using a variety of these things. And we thought, this is all great. But we weren't, well, here's what happened. We went to Tech Ed and we started talking to folks about it, just Tech Ed, just in August. And it turned out that from our informal research, very few people, like fewer than 5%, were actually looking at blogs.
Yep.
And that way less than that, like probably less than 1%, were doing anything even new what social bookmarking was. And since we got so much out of these tools in terms of being personally really well informed, productive, we really love these kinds of things.
Or unproductive, as in my case.
Arguably productive.
Arguably.
Yeah.
Wait. It depends on what you're trying to get done.
Well, yeah.
So we were productive, not necessarily always in terms of your work assignments, but we were very productive in whatever it was we were pursuing. So we thought, geez, maybe we just ought to dedicate ourselves to making sure that the IT professionals are exposed to these kinds of tools and can make the most out of them. And it turns out there's a whole bunch of problems associated with getting introduced to those kinds of things. And that's what theworkingnetwork.com does.
Okay.
Don't go there yet, because right now you get a staging page. But
But this won't show for a while.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Never mind.
Go. Yeah.
Now I've ruined it all.
So the working network.
What day is today?
On Monday, the 23rd.
How do you know what day it is?
we don't know what day it is. Is the downside, right? So
sorry.
That's okay. What you're going to find there is you're going to find. So I understand, by the way, that most of the folks that would see this would be seeing this from the Channel 9 site, which means they're probably into blogging already. So from the blogging perspective, it's not necessarily going to be news for those guys.
Or at least they're blog aware. They might not read anything other than Channel 9 or listen to anything. Because Channel 9 is sort of a community site and a video thing, and they might have gotten linked to it from some like a Active Win or NeoWin or one of the flight simulator.
They still may want to come
websites, yeah.
back. They still may want to come back,
Yeah.
if only to check out the OPM Elevator, and we'll show you what that does in a moment. But that's a way to get a
You guys
better
drank
plugged
the
in.
Web 2.0 Kool-Aid, didn't
Dude,
you?
marketing hates us because we don't really have any good names. The OPM Elevator, I can't even say it, but it sounds just so cool.
Hey, Community Bar is a nice name.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
great name.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can actually use that yet, but we'll know.
It's a good
If
name.
not, we're going to call it the Neighborhood Bar.
Or the pub.
Yeah,
It's a good name, but it's probably because we didn't have anything to do with it. You got it. So at any rate, they might want to come by anyway to check out the OPM Elevator, or just to get plugged into the social bookmarking thing, and we'll describe how to do that. But a couple of things that make it tough to get started in all these things. First and foremost is, if you're going to do blogging, you're going to read blogs, let alone blog yourself. If you're going to read them, you have to figure out who it is you're going to read.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to get into the social bookmarking thing. Social bookmarking's cool. It's actually better than using your favorite, or it's better than using your own the bookmark capability if you use another browser and it's referred to as bookmarking. It's actually better to use the social bookmarking tools. There's just better ways of doing it.
Why is it better?
Well,
Because I've never gotten into this. I've never gotten into social bookmarking.
You're so far behind the time.
Well, I had a link blog, which is before social bookmarking.
But you use Delicious, don't you?
Once in a while, but
Okay.
not really.
So here's the deal. It's pretty straightforward. When you save favorites, you do that because you found a site and you think it's cool, and you want to save it in your favorites so that you can find it later. So if you do that on your machine at work and then you go home, it's not on your favorites at home unless you've done some transfer process, export and import at home, which no one does. So what social bookmarking does, first and foremost, is it allows you to put that favorite on a server on the internet. That means any machine you go to, whether it's an office machine or a home machine or a computer in the airport, you can access your favorites now and get to them. The next thing it does that's pretty cool is it allows you to add keywords or tags, they call tags, to the URLs you've stored. And now you can navigate, you can find the URLs you've saved, your favorites, by clicking on or selecting through and searching through those tags.
Yep.
Where the social part comes in is that they show you, the social bookmarking services expose all of your tags to everybody else.
Yeah.
And they expose everybody else's tags to you. And then the sort of pièce de résistance is you can use an RSS feed against a tag.
Okay.
So, for instance, Stefan is always out tagging things. I put his tag
You're one
in
of those
my...
tagger types,
I'm
huh?
a total tag.
I put his tag in my RSS reader.
Yep.
That means every time he tags something, I get to see what it is. Well, Stefan's my boss, so this is cool. So now I have a pretty good idea of what I'll be working on like next week or like the week after.
It changes weekly, which is the nice thing about it.
It changes all the time. It's very exciting that
It
way.
doesn't tell you otherwise.
No, you have to look at my tags and you get it that way.
So we should show the OPM elevator. We should show
New ways to randomize teams. I love that. This is gonna be-
Actually, keep talking for a second. I've got to pull it back up here.
Alright.
So keep yammering for a second.
All right.
So-
We're going to show you the OPM elevator first.
Okay.
Now this is the first beta version of this. We're going to do a little work on the UI and all the other sort of excuses all up front.
Yep.
But again, as I was mentioning,
Translation, it's ugly.
it's a little ugly right now.
Okay.
But the idea is, if you're going to start blogging, you're going to start social bookmarking, you have to know whose blogs to read.
Yep.
I think I just read recently, you probably saw this yourself, there are 80,000 new blogs going up per day.
Yep.
Now, that means there are probably thousands of them that at some point mention subjects that are of interest to me.
Yep.
Well, which ones should I pay attention to?
And the blog search doesn't really help you too much, because
No.
if you go to blog search and search on C#, for instance, it brings back everybody who's mentioned C#.
C#,
but they might
ever.
not be an authority. They
Right.
might not. They might not. They might be somebody like me who just mentions it, and I'm not an authority on C#. Right? I'm not a programmer. So, but I sometimes write C# on my blog. And why are you looking at my blog if you're interested in C# code, for instance, or code snippets, or
Exactly
code
right.
samples, or
That's
you know,
exactly right.
code
Technorati or PubSub, those kinds of blog big storehouses are another way to do it. You create a little search, and then as somebody blogs on a given subject, when they include that keyword, they show it to you.
Yeah.
But again, you get an enormous amount of noise. So one of the things that we've done is we have created, we've employed the notion of tags. So we are collecting, to start with, feeds across Microsoft, feeds from some of the MVPs, feeds from some of the partners, and then we tag those feeds. So, for instance, we'll show it to you in a moment. You go in and you select a feed,
Yeah.
or you select a tag, And against that tag, we show you the feeds that are known good feeds.
And these are human-added feeds. So
They're human-added.
You or your team or somebody here at Microsoft has gone and said, this is actually a good feed.
Yes.
This is not spam. This is not
Yes.
noise. This is somebody
In fact,
who
we
actually
even make
writes
sure-
a lot about this topic.
Yeah, we even make sure that they've blogged recently. In other words, people have submitted feeds to us, and it turns out the feeds actually haven't been updated for 2 or 3 months, so we eliminate all of those.
Yeah.
Now this will be opened up to Microsoft people internally generally, so the number of feeds available in the system should go up pretty substantially soon. Eventually, this thing will become available to the public, so that the public will be able to enter feeds as well.
Okay.
Now, that's cool, but what we have to do before we can do that is we have to make sure that there is a way to properly stage so that the community can evaluate itself. The community itself can evaluate the appropriateness and value of any given feed.
Okay.
Okay?
Cool.
All right.
Now, disclaimer, as Bob said, what you're about to see is probably one of the greatest UI designs in the history of computing. And so brace yourself, because here it comes.
All right. Let me get over there, by the way.
All right.
So what you're seeing me scroll down here, this big long list,
Yeah.
these are all of
Actually-
the tags.
Where's my microphone going to work the best? Probably back here, and I'll zoom in on the big screen. Yeah, that makes sense.
These,
Sorry for that.
down the left-hand side of the screen, are all of the tags that we have associated with the system so far. So where is Small Business Server here?
SBS.
SBS up here. So we'll choose SBS because I happen to know there are some tags in this system associated with SBS. So we'll click on SBS, and what the system is doing is it's finding all of the RSS feeds associated with Small Business Server.
Yeah.
Now, all the feeds you see in this third column here
Yep.
are the feeds we have currently listed for Small Business Server.
Okay.
In the middle column, this is a little harder to explain, but anytime we have used the SBS tag, these tags were also used. So sometimes there will be people who blog about SBS or Small Business Server and disaster subjects, or Small Business Server and firewall subjects, or Small Business Server and exchange subjects. So what I can do is decide, do I want 1 or 2 of these feeds,
Yep.
or do I want, for instance, all of these feeds?
Yep.
I choose this Move button, and what that will do is that will say, I want all of these feeds put into an OPML file for me.
Okay.
And an OPML file is just an outline format
Yep.
that is used by feed readers to swap RSS information.
Yep.
So if I have 50 RSS feeds, I plug them into an OPML file, and a feed reader can read that OPML file and import all of my RSS feeds. So you come to theworkingnetwork.com, you think, okay, you read the argument, you think, I buy that. Reading these blogs could save me a bunch of time, but I don't know where to get started. OPMLomator. I'm interested in these subjects. Here are the authors that are relevant on those subjects. I push the button. I import them into my feed reader. By the time 20 or 30 minutes is over, you're up and running, and now you have another source of information that we believe will eventually replace some of the more traditional sources of information that you may be relying upon today.
Okay.
That make sense?
Yep.
I can push the Generate OPML
You
button.
have no feed selected.
Oops.
Let's see what happens. I'm curious what she's done. We got something.
So I will get an
Play
empty
yeah.
OPML file because I selected no feeds. But so we'll choose to cancel that, given the usefulness of an empty OPML file.
Yep.
Okay,
So that's it. right?
That's it.
so that's one of the things that we have go. And actually, there are a number of things
So
that we'll do.
for me to get new feeds into the system, I'd have to talk a Microsoft employee into adding them at this point, right?
For the next couple of weeks, that's the case.
Okay.
So understand, theworkingnetwork.com, this is a couple of guys here. Like, you're talking right now to theworkingnetwork.com.
Okay.
Like, this is it.
Yeah,
There's some temp guys. There's some
Yeah.
temp folks,
Yeah.
and there are some contractors. And in fact, Pran is responsible for building this app, and she's done a great job. And we should give her some credit for it. And
Very, very rapid development.
Very rapid development for this particular app. But this is it.
Okay.
So what you see is kind of what you get here. So don't look for...
But if I see a new feed tonight that I think should be added to this, how
Yes.
do I get it added?
If you saw it tonight, you just send it over to me and I'll add it.
Yeah.
Within a few weeks, I will broadcast an interface that will allow anyone within Microsoft to add these feeds.
Yeah.
Okay?
How
And
about
then-
externally people on channel?
And then...
Because you don't want 4,000 emails, do you?
No. and then, say 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, can't tell you when,
Okay.
we will open this up on the site itself, on the workingnetwork.com. We will make it possible for any user to come in and say, look, we have feeds that are better than yours.
Yeah.
Because these are just Microsoft feeds. That's a very small percentage of the feeds out there, and quite possibly not remotely the best ones.
Actually, I don't think all these are Microsoft feeds. We have some external.
No, it's
I
true.
think. Yeah, I mean, these are ones that Microsoft folks have told us about, but there are some here I think that are external. But you're right. The point is that we want to make this available to the entire world, not just geeks
How,
like us.
how scalable is the system you built here? You know, if a year from now and you open it up to the public, there's going to be 1 million feeds here. You know,
Not a problem. That
okay.
part's not a problem.
All right.
We're not remotely worried about if 1 million people come along and want to start putting feeds in there. We'll throw a party.
All right.
And you're all invited. Oh, wait.
We'll throw a party, you're all invited, but we're not buying all the beer because it's just the two of us. So that's one of the tools that we have.
Yeah.
One of the other tools that we have is called the Community Bar.
Okay.
And the Community Bar is an Internet Explorer plugin, would you call it, or extension?
Yeah, it's an Internet Explorer bar. Should I take the pilot
Yeah,
seat?
man, go.
All right. So it's an Internet Explorer bar, and what it is we looked out there and we saw there's all these sites, tagging, blogging, forums, chat, all these types of community things, and we thought, well, why don't we just bring this all together, make it consistent, and kind of locate it based on the URL that you're at. So when you're at a particular page, you can chat with people who are on that page, you can leave notes and annotate the page, you can see what pages point to the page, you can see what people have used to tag the page, what blogs talk about the page, all that kind of community stuff focused around the page itself.
Right.
So that's called the Community Bar, and let me show you here. Just go to MSN. So this is a Community Bar here, and you can see that it's got these different sections. So there's notes, tags, inlinks, queries, wiki. I don't know if you can read it on that.
Oh yeah.
Rating and delicious, and I'll get to those. And then we've got search up here. So the notes, for instance, is really straightforward. When you're on MSN.com, we're seeing that there's this guy named Adam who wrote, a note, cool article today, or I love the site, or whatever, right?
Yep.
Of course, at the moment, because there's only 3 of us that are using this, it's not terribly exciting because I could walk over to Bob's office and he could tell me that it was a cool article today instead. But the idea is that once this is across the internet, we've got thousands of people using it. How do you get in contact with people who have the same interests as you? You don't necessarily know how to get in contact with them, but by virtue of the fact that we're reading the same article on Israel-Palestine relations, we're both interested in this, and hey, let's chat. Let's see where else you visit. What other sites are you interested in, and those types of things.
So I'm a little lost here. I download this and load it up.
Mm-hmm.
Whose notes do I get to see? Everybody in the system, or
Everybody
just
in the
people
system.
I add?
At the moment, everybody in the
Okay.
system, you can leave a note for the whole world to see, or you can leave a note just for yourself as well. So sometimes it's useful to have little reminders, remember to use your coupon when you go to this restaurant or something for yourself. In the future, we plan on having groups so that, say, a product group or an academic research group or any kind of group can have notes shared amongst themselves.
Okay.
And we also are going to look at ordering the notes by a social network. So you could say, I want to see my friends' notes and friends of friends' notes first. I don't want to see just any random Joe's notes that are out there.
Got it.
So yeah, we've got a lot of ideas about ways to improve it. This is just sort of, again, I and Rob, this Rob over here, are the only guys writing this thing.
Yeah.
And so
In your spare time.
in our spare time, we like this stuff, but there's only 2 of us.
We have spare time here, Microsoft?
Someone does.
Yeah, we have to hope we have to wonder who's going to see this, and that spare time may not be as prevalent tomorrow as it is today.
But yeah, so obviously, let's say I go to MSN Search instead, then now the notes are going to change to one
Well,
that I wrote saying this
we
is one of the
we
best
want
search
to
engines
compete
out
with
there, of
a
course.
certain company down in Mountain View, California, and
Uh-huh.
they have this concept of 20% time. So
Yeah.
we just take your nights and weekends too. It's a heck of a life-work balance,
I think
right?
nights and weekends adds up to about 20%. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they mean.
Last time I was down there, I saw people working nights and
Yeah.
weekends.
You know, you work your 40-hour, then go do whatever you want for us the rest of the time.
Yep.
And then there's other things, there's tags. So I can, on this MSN site, people have tagged it with MSN, News, Microsoft, and so forth. And if you were to click on one of these tags, then you can see what are all the articles that were tagged with that particular tag.
really?
So this is the shared bookmarking thing that Bob was talking about, where, someone has tagged the site with the word news, and other people have tagged other sites with the word news. So by virtue of the fact that I'm on this site, I can see, oh look, people call this news. Okay, let's click on news and see what other sites people have tagged with the word news. So that's the tagging. Some of the other ones are pretty straightforward. Inlinks. This is all
So
the pages.
if I went around the internet and found cool video sites and I tagged them with cool video,
Yeah.
you would click on that. Would you see a list of my cool video sites?
I would see a list of your
everyone's.
cool video sites.
And would it be a list of all the sites I've ever entered, or just sites that I've entered today, or?
It'd be the sites you've ever entered.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And-
this list, what does that URL look, or what does that look like when you actually click on a?
At
tag
the
with
moment,
multiple-
it doesn't. At the moment, it doesn't quite. It's a unimplemented feature, which will be implemented by the time this is broadcast.
Got it.
Unless that's in an hour.
Yeah.
But no, we have all the data sitting in a database. It's very easy to throw together a page that's going to display all the sites. Again, it might not be the most beautiful page in this first release, but it's.
So it'll pull up another page which has all the sites.
Yeah, I mean,
and
I can show
click
you what
on
it looks
that.
like right now. I click on Microsoft, and this page over here will change to say that I clicked the Microsoft tag.
Got it.
And instead, this would now have all the Microsoft tags. And then the funny thing is, this community bar here, again, the content depends on what is sitting. The content here depends on what is sitting over here, right?
Yeah.
Now that I've clicked on this tag, it's always this meta thing. People could be leaving notes associated with the page about the tag now. People could chat. I could have clicked on the Microsoft tag, and I could be chatting to people who are looking at the Microsoft tag.
Very cool.
And any of those types.
Are you going to use any blog search engines to look up who has written blogs about that page?
That's the idea. We don't have that yet, but we definitely we want to go out there. We want to crawl all their RSS and find anyone who's linked to that page and say, these blogs are talking about the page.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's one of the ways that we want to sort of seed it with some good content, because a lot of people are out there writing all kinds of great stuff. And so if we can pre-seed the community bar with those kinds of things, it'll be really great.
Okay.
The other thing about this, well, I don't know if you want me to finish going through the panels.
Yeah,
but
please do.
okay. So let's go.
I'm the
back to this.
randomizer. I just
Hey,
ask
That's
a lot
my
of stupid
job.
questions.
I'm trying to randomize here.
You don't need to see me adding a tag, I'm sure. But these are all the pages that point to the page that we're currently looking at,
Okay.
which isn't very interesting on this particular page. But if you were to go to like your own home page, it can be really interesting to see who's linking to your page,
Yeah.
and what is the little description that they've given about your page and so
Right.
forth.
Now, where do the inlinks come from?
These come from MSN search. We just do a link to search.
Okay.
And then queries. We can see, I don't know if this will be part of what we release, but this is all the queries that people have issued that return to this page from our search engine. So this can give you an idea when you're on the search engine, and again, some of these things need work. I mean, obviously, I don't need to tell you the query MSN returns MSN.com, but some things, I don't know, MSN Latino or MSN software or something, maybe you wouldn't have thought of issuing a query in this way. If you're on a page that you find really interesting, you can see, oh, these are queries that people issued that returned this page.
Yeah.
So why don't I click that query and see what other pages are returned for that query. That's the queries. Standard wiki type thing. It's sort of like a really big shared note. You write anything you want there, clobber whatever else other people have written. But again, this is looking at the success of things like Wikipedia and saying, look, there's a huge phenomenon out there, which is random people, just everybody on the internet, they want to tell people their stories. They want to put their knowledge out there and share it with the world, and this allows them to do
Now,
that.
as you start wikis, will there be a directory there, and then you have an entry page on the right, or will all the wiki content be in the bar?
At the moment, it's just in the bar, but that's definitely one of the things that we want to look at with not just the wiki, but the notes as well, for instance, is people without the bar should be able to find the notes and should be able to find the wiki content and all those types of
What's the difference between, now does the wiki change based on
Yes.
the page you're on?
Yeah.
So what's the difference between notes and wikis then? Because they're
The
very
difference
similar.
is a note, I own the note, so if I've written
Nobody can edit the note.
Yeah, I can
Got
come
it.
up here and write like I love
Or I.
Or just
love
yeah.
this site,
Right.
right? And then I click, go and save it. So here you can see I can attach it either to any page on MSN.com, so the whole domain, or I can attach it to like a particular article. Maybe I'm reading the article about whoever this is, Rihanna, and I just want to say I love Rihanna or something. I can just attach to that thing. So now I save the note, and then it's going to appear down here. And then now I kind of own this note. I could edit it, and I can delete it. And
How come you didn't make it reverse chronological?
it's going to be that
Oh.
mysterious.
See, I ask lots of stupid questions.
No, they're not stupid. If the answer to every single one of your questions is it's going to be done, then that means it's not a stupid question.
Actually, we're speccing.
Yes, it's a very
And that means he now has a deadline.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's promised it,
The
right?
channel line video is now our spec.
Right.
That's the best thing about it.
This is so much more fun than writing a
Right,
script. I mean,
exactly.
it's so much more entertaining.
I'll send you the video in an hour so you can remember what you promised.
Again, some of this UI will change, but you can rate pages. So I could say, oh, this page is a 0, or this page is a 4, or something.
We're not shipping that in D1 though, are we?
I don't know.
I don't think we
I
are.
think it depends on
Legal.
Oh, really?
legal.
Well,
yeah.
A lot of it depends on legal.
We love
Yeah.
legal. We love you legal.
Yeah, this whole thing.
Why do you have to
depends
ask
on legal.
lawyers what to do anyways? Yeah.
Because they, they're very nice people.
You're such a politician.
Love you.
Actually,
Disclaimer: the comments referred here may not be the truth.
yeah.
Well, maybe
lawyers are good.
maybe we should.
Yeah,
although,
they're good.
I had a lawyer stay in my room at the PDC.
maybe we should
See,
describe
Yeah.
the sort of what these panels are, because there's a little more to this, I think, than meets the
Yeah,
eye.
yeah. There's one. I was gonna say once we kind of finished up, but I mean, just real quick. The final panel that we have is integration with the Delicious server. So we're using the Delicious API, and you can add Delicious tags to the site and description. And if you've already had Delicious tags and descriptions, then you'll see your descriptions and Delicious tags in this panel.
Wow.
And that kind of gets to what we're really doing with this is any third party can plug in a panel into this community bar.
Okay.
And it's just, the basic idea is a panel is something that displays content where the content that it displays depends on the page that you're on. And there's sort of unlimited number of things that you can think of, unlimited applications that you could do. You could maybe find related pictures. You could have a thing that just shows you all the outlinks of the page. You could have find all the keywords, find all the people that are interested, show where the people are.
If I'm a developer, how do I build a little tile that goes into the bar?
You make a little. You give us is a URL. Each one of these little panels is just a little frame. So that this, for instance, right here is a little frame which is given through a JavaScript call. It says, okay, the user just navigated to this URL. Now update yourself.
Okay.
And then they just have to update themselves however they want. So you could write this in ASP.NET. You could write it in PHP. You could just have a static HTML page if that was something interesting enough. And then you would just give us the URL. We haven't figured out exactly how that process works, but I want to appease to our audience. Like, send us any interesting little panels you want put up there, and especially if you're one of the first 100, I'll be looking at them directly and probably throwing up all 100. Once we get to thousands or millions of panels, possibly I won't be handling that. But
Yeah.
we would love. I mean,
Are you working with the sidebar team on Windows Vista to try to get this idea used on there?
No, but that's a great idea.
Maybe one of them will see this and
Yes.
realize
Call
what a
us.
valuable addition this would be.
yes.
Because they have a similar framework
Other
that they
gadgets,
thought. I think
yeah.
they thought it through a little bit more
They
in
have
terms
gadgets.
of the dragging gadgets into the
Right.
bar. and
Right, you can drag them
out.
in and out. They have a little bit better, a little bit more integration. One thing that's a little different between a sidebar type thing and the community bar is that a sidebar is their sidebar at least is meant to be just sort of, it's there and you have things in it, but it's not reacting contextually to what you're doing. This is reacting contextually to the page that you're currently on, and that's where we think the kind of additional value of the community bar is.
And just to make sure we're super clear, whatever page you go to, the panels on the left-hand side are going to update. So no matter where you go on the net, you'll get contextually relevant information about that site, whether it's the tags folks have used, the notes people have left, the wiki they've written, whatever, about that site. So it's kind of this serendipity experience where you get to go out there and browse the sites that you normally browse to, but you're getting a bunch of meta information about those sites in the sidebar
Yeah.
or in the panels.
The site doesn't need to support it.
Yeah,
The
right.
site doesn't, it's
Yeah.
not being served by the site or anything. It's being served, by whoever wrote the panel. In our case, these panels were written by us, so we're
I
serving
can
it.
bet that as your numbers of users go up, the people who are in the sidebar are probably going to start getting nervous about traffic. For instance, if Blogline Citations was a tile
It's a
here,
panel, yeah.
having 100 users like right now, it's not a big deal. But if it's 1 million or 5
Yeah.
million or 20 million, they would get swamped, right? Because it's an N.
But on the other
N times
hand-
N.
So they're going to have to decide whether or not they can do this.
Yeah.
But if you ask Bloglines, would they like 5 million visitors per month? They'd probably say yes. I mean, traffic is a pain, but it's also a benefit to them.
But there are other ways, right? So, I mean, for example, like we talked about earlier, we were thinking the same thing. The scale problem can be really scary, right? And so, you could also just have a panel sitting there in the sidebar that doesn't do anything until you press a button, for example. So it's resident, but it isn't being constantly updated by the community bar until you say, go get some information. That way it reduces the churn on the servers.
And there could be some panels that only act on, almost without a server, or they might only act when you change domains. So if you're changing pages within the domain, it won't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, even from Blogline's perspective, for instance, what the panel does is it brings Bloglines into their web experience everywhere they go.
Yeah.
And there's, I think, some significant benefit had from Blogline's perspective in that regard.
Yeah, I just know that things like this take off fast. Some things take off fast, and you get 100 million users in 12 months, and if you didn't think through the impact of
Yep.
that thing hitting every single web page
Uh-oh.
on servers,
Yeah.
I mean, you could take down MSN. It's not to mention a smaller company like Bloglines or Technorati.
Right,
And you've already seen scaling. I used to work at a weblog company, and we had scaling problems back in 2000, and the blog world is doubling every 5 months, and now the
Right.
scaling problems are becoming pretty immense because you double 20 million, now you have 40 million, you double it again, and it's 80 million,
Yeah.
and you start getting
Right.
some scary numbers for people who have to pay for this infrastructure.
We hope we have to deal with those scary numbers. We would love to have the problem where we're dealing with too many people using the bar.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be
Valid
great.
point, though.
It's definitely a valid point, and it's something we're definitely keeping an eye towards scalability. One thing that we're doing is we're using Ajax technologies, which can help cut down a little bit. It's not doing a full page; it's just asking for some XML data and updating so that cuts down on your network traffic. And I think there's ways to manage it, but
Cool.
yeah.
Anything else cool that I should know? Are you going to have an SDK that tells me how to make a tile and how to get
Yeah,
you
there will be a little API, that tells you what's the JavaScript you should expect to be, given as a call,
So I know somebody who'll build a tile like instantly.
And the
Yeah.
working,
Well,
the
that's
working
the other
network.
thing.
Sorry.
Sorry. Oh, I was just gonna say. I mean, once, like the inlinks tile, I could make in like one day.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm the one who wrote the API, so I do know it. But so it's a little unfair. But it's not hard to write these things because they're just web pages that have to react to a change of URL. So it's very easy. You're not talking about writing like COM programming complex stuff. It's just a web page.
And what we're anticipating on the workingnetwork.com site, we will have forums there, and one of the forums will be dedicated to the community bar and to developers that are interested in pursuing the community bar kinds of activities. Now these guys always like cringe when I say that kind of thing, but it's one of the things that we're planning to do.
Yeah.
So there are going to be lots of other cool things in the workingnetwork.com over time.
Right.
But again, in the spirit of Web 2.0, or actually we like to think of it as more like Web 3.0 stuff, because we're sort of taking a
Now you'll start a debate.
we're sort of taking a meta view of all the services. We're not necessarily focused on any one service.
Right.
We talk a little bit about blogging, certainly, and social bookmarking. But by the way, you will find that we're using Eventful in there as well, or we're using a variety of other tagging services. And while, yes, we expect the majority of people to show up on the workingnetwork.com,
Yeah.
learn what they can learn, get off and running, and maybe they never come back. Because our content really is just a seed.
Okay.
We give them the seed, they get the community bar, they may never come back.
Yeah, that's okay.
And that's okay, because they're now plugged into this sort of trust network of users, and they're getting lots of information, and they're better connected, and they're maybe more productive.
Right.
So, I mean, that's a good thing. Some folks, however, are going to engage with us, we hope,
Yeah.
on a more ongoing basis to figure out what new service is better than Delicious or Shadows or any of these other social bookmarking services. What new thing is out there that will make us more productive? So,
Are you going to have RSS feeds for any of these tiles so that I can subscribe to a tile's content and read it in a separate way?
It kind of in the plan. I mean, it's not specifically in the plans, but there's a lot.
It is now.
thanks to our,
I hope someone's writing all this down.
our video spec process.
We should copyright.
There's a lot of future enhancements that we'd like to do to it. We're just trying to get out sort of a first version so we can get feedback from people about, hey, this is what we like, this is what we don't like, and we'd like to write a panel for you and so forth. But yeah, RSS feeds. Another thing is, the identity. If the notes and tags and so forth, because it's kind of integrated, you've left notes, you've left tags, and so forth.
Yeah.
So if you are willing to share that information, then maybe I can get a better picture of the whole entity of you and kind of what your interests are.
That was going to be my next question. I follow 1,400 people, right, or something like that. And I follow Tim Bray, and I read him every day. And once a week, he has a post that just captures my imagination. I want to bookmark that underneath his name so that I can see, sort of my favorite people that I've sort of followed along. And I don't know if you played with Dave Weiner's OPML tool, but he has an outliner that uses OPML.
Okay.
And I can sort of store that, but it would be neat to have that kind of view in a community bar as well.
Yeah. So I mean, any ideas like that, which we wouldn't be able to get to right now, but possibly in the future, like anyone should send us those, including yourself if you know.
Well, I'm
And
actually,
while you're talking to Dave, maybe you want to tell Dave that what he needs to do is get that tool implemented in panel format.
yeah, that would be tough because it's a Win32 app and a Mac app.
He's a creative guy.
Well, now he has to write some JavaScript.
You may want to do that.
JavaScript's fun. Everybody loves JavaScript.
I don't know. I'll take my video camera to Dave, and you'll hear back the answer. Get another video spec out of that.
Yeah. Right.
What else
TM.
was I just thinking about? Yeah, one thing I'm doing with his tool is going through the last 5 years of my blog, and I'm building an outline of my best blogs or my favorite blogs over the last 5 years. So somebody who comes in starts reading me today says, "Hey, I want to know, why did you get hired at Microsoft?" All I have to do is hand them this file and say, I covered that. Just click on why I got hired at Microsoft, and it'll list the 4 posts I made about that.
Right.
Because that's a common question I get, or my about page, or my bio, or what are my favorite 20 blog posts I've made over the last 5 years, or what are my favorite posts I made each month, something like that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Or what are all my posts, without going through the calendar, but seeing it in a new way, because the
Topically,
calendar is
You need a Bob Scoble panel. That's
Yeah.
what you need. I frequently ask Bob Scoble panel.
Well, I'm working on it. The OPML tool actually builds a tile-like thing. So if you go to Dave Weiner's blog, he has a tile right now of outline content that other people had built for him. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Well, cool. Anything else you guys want to show?
No, I think I've exhausted myself.
What's this Vista Rocks thing?
You're in, please.
We're in the studio. This is our soundstage for Vista Rocks. It's a little ditty that a guy that me and Mike Langowski, my cohort in crime, do every other day or so. We're just kind of talking about Vista, with the cool Windows Vista. I think I have to say that now.
Yeah. Or the lawyers will come.
I know. I can feel them. They're coming after me.
They're friendly, of course.
Oh, very friendly.
They're coming to give you.
So we do it. It's internal only right now. There's talk about it going a bit external, but it's just to kind of show.
Yeah,
folks
we're trying to get it on Channel 9,
which I love too. We just have to work through our beautiful, nice friends over in legal and marketing. Basically, what it does, it just shows folks.
And you guys don't like to do editing, and I think there might be a little bit of editing.
We don't do editing. Just slide me the tapes and I'll get them up.
I'll give you the
I'll say, I don't know where this came from. I just put it up, man.
Put it in my mailbox.
Well,
That's how the world
There's a
changes.
difference between corporate blogging and corporate flogging.
So yeah, it's basically a video blog that talks about the new features in Vista. But,
Yeah. It's very fun. I listen to it every morning.
Oh
so.
boy, well thanks.
Well, cool.
All right,
I'm looking forward to that coming out in public because I learn a lot about what's coming.
So do we.
Yeah. Well, cool. Thanks. Anything else?
October 26th, www.theworkingnetwork.com.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Cool.